All right. Welcome, everybody. It's exciting to be able to kick off this exciting 8-week lifestyle entrepreneur challenge and coaching course. My name is David Bush, for those of you who don't know who I am. And I'm part of a dynamic duo. Jim Cathcart and I are kicking off this 8-week extraordinary lifestyle entrepreneur challenge to be able to embrace the ideas and strategies that have helped us to design and live extraordinary lives as lifestyle entrepreneurs. And our passion is to give back to others who have a desire to create a business around their lifestyle. If you have not had a chance to check out our website, theextraordinarylife.com, we've got great resources, lots of other videos and articles, and we've also got some great tools, a free ebook. So be sure you check out theextraordinarylife.com and catch a little bit of a vision of what it is that we're trying to accomplish with this idea of designing and living an extraordinary life around being a lifestyle entrepreneur. The first week of this challenge, I'm going to be talking about developing a life and business plan. For those of you that are traditional goal setters, this will probably be a little bit of a review session for you, but I'm hoping that it captures your attention to the point where you really get excited about maybe recasting some goals or maybe recommitting to some goals that have maybe not necessarily come into fruition. We're about halfway through 2017 at the time of this recording. And there's a lot of opportunity left in the year. There's a lot of things that we can do in the next month, in the next 8 weeks, or in the next 6 months. If we just simply get focused on what it is that we want to create, and we have a good action plan and accountability system to create it. So a little bit of background on me. I grew up in Southern California. I grew up in the beautiful hills of Temecula, California, which is a great Southern California wine country. I went off to play college football at the University of South Dakota and got my bachelor's degree in mass communications and got into a thing called arena football back in 1995 and ended up playing for 4 years in the Arena Football League, and then suffered a career-ending lack of talent and moved on into the world of sales. I was working in the mortgage business and ended up spending 10 years in the mortgage business and kind of rose through the ranks. Became an owner of a mortgage company with 17 offices in 3 different states. And then I decided to commit somewhat of career suicide and change it all over and do something different. I became a lifestyle entrepreneur, created a website and started working with entrepreneurs and executives to help them to design and live extraordinary lives. Developed an online e-commerce website that was built around life planning and goal setting and personal coaching and executive coaching, and built a great career around the idea of coaching. And then I went through this health transformation. I ended up losing 100 pounds and ended up beginning to see how I could maybe help people to create health in all aspects of their life, including their physical health, their mental health, and their financial and business health. Because I had some skill sets and I had a history, a track record, if you will, to do all of those things, losing 100 pounds, so that was just my story, but that was one of the victories in my life that I felt like that I could share with other people, because as a coach, I saw so many people struggling with the area of physical health. Now, this particular webinar is not on physical health, but I can tell you from personal experience and from the testimonials of other people that physical health has an impact on your financial and business health, and also on your mental health. And I'm probably preaching to the choir because most of you are successful individuals. You know that everything affects everything. But I didn't necessarily understand the power of what happens when you have a good, solid plan and a good, solid habit system that you can create better physical health, which will transcend all other areas of your life. And when I captured that myself personally, I began to coach other people on that. And I've been a lifestyle entrepreneur coach for over 10 years, working with some of the top level entrepreneurs out there in the country, working with people from all around, from physical therapists all the way to somebody that just decided to become a lifestyle entrepreneur and started a business from scratch. So I've had a wide, diverse background, and I think that that's the value that I can bring to you, along with my partner, Jim Cathcart, who's in China right now, speaking to a whole large organization. He'll be back next week at the same time as we begin to continue to unpack this idea of becoming an extraordinary lifestyle entrepreneur. Today's schedule is going to be focusing in on extraordinary life and business planning. Next week, we'll talk about marketing your business. We'll have Jim give us a little bit of feedback of what's happening on the other side of the world in China and some of the strategies that he's beginning to pick up as he travels the world. And he's built a lifestyle entrepreneur business over the last 40 years. So he's had an extreme amount of success in building that business model. And so he's going to be able to share some additional resources. We do have some helpful resources for life and business planning inside of our private Facebook group. It's also here. I'll provide the link in the chat window in just a moment. But we have a really cool life and business planning tool that is available for everybody that's participating to be able to use as a workbook, to be able to really digest some of the principles that I'm going to share with you today. Jim's book, Relationship Selling, is going to be the core parts of weeks 3 and 4 of our challenge, and then we're going to be talking about the self-motivation handbook, the concepts that Jim breaks down inside of his book on how to motivate yourself to take action. Because again, without action, motivation is simply a myth. And you need to know how to do those things as a lifestyle entrepreneur, because nobody's there pushing you or prodding you to do the things that need to be done to make a profit and to be successful. We're going to talk about how to grow your extraordinary team. Now, you may think, well, I'm an individual entrepreneur. What do you mean have a team? I don't want to have employees. Well, this is not about having employees. It's more about the idea of learning how to build a referral network, building a strategic partnership team, having people that you can outsource to for marketing, for creative, for legal, for human resources, or anything that is necessary to run a successful business. We'll talk a little bit more about how to expand your business while improving work-life balance, which is sometimes, a myth in some cases. When you think about working harder or working smarter, it takes work to build a business, but it does give you the opportunity to create balance in your life if you have your priorities set and you have some good boundaries in place. And we'll talk about that in week 7. And then the final week, we're going to talk about the secrets to generating extraordinary results. As a participant in this challenge, all of these videos and sessions will be inside the Facebook group, so you can watch them at your convenience or rewatch them. And I can tell you that some of this content may be a little bit fast. It may be a little bit deep for some people. It may be too much. It may be overwhelming to some people. But I'm going to let you know that being overwhelmed is a personal decision. Being overwhelmed is not necessarily your reality if you don't let it to become your reality. You have to reach out and break things down into bite-sized pieces that you can digest them. This is a group. We have a group of people that there are some people that are doing a lot, and there's some people that are just getting started. So we can't necessarily build the business or build the presentation around the slowest paced person or the fastest paced person. We're going to try to give you information that I think that everybody can pull some ideas from. And if you just pull one idea, just one, and implement it, you're going to see some reasonable progress over a measurable period of time. If you get overwhelmed, or if you shut down and you start procrastinating the things that we give you in terms of assignments, you're not going to see any benefit from it. So my encouragement to you is to engage. Engage in one activity every single week, and maybe even every single day if you want to see accelerated growth. But do something that you can check off your list and say, I did something, so that 8 weeks from now, you not only finish the course, the challenge, but that you actually see the fruits of your labor. And it may take 8 weeks of doing some of this work if you're brand new into the idea of becoming an entrepreneur to actually see the benefits. So I want you to be persistent. I want you to stick with us all the way to the end. And I want you to engage in the community. And right now is a place that you can engage is to comment. Comment inside the chat window of the webinar if you're live with us on the webinar, or chat inside the live video feed on Facebook. Or if you're watching a recording, make a comment, introduce yourself, let people know why you're here and what you're trying to accomplish. Don't be overly promotional. Don't try to sell people things that you're trying to promote in your business, but introduce people to who you are and why you decided to join this challenge, because together I think we're all going to achieve a lot more. Now, some of you are brand new to the concept of becoming a lifestyle entrepreneur. So the way that Jim and I define that, it's a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses around their lifestyle and what matters most to them to live an extraordinary life. So for some people, that may be making an additional $50,000 a year and having a business that they do in their spare time. To other people, it may be where they're building a 7-figure empire and they're doing it with multiple streams of revenue from lots of different places and lots of different business entities. That's maybe a little bit complicated. But to them, if that's the lifestyle that they desire, then that's what we want to support. So wherever you are in this continuum, we're glad that you raised your hand and said, I want to be part of the challenge. Here's some of the people that will be participating in this particular challenge. If you know of other people that might be in these categories that you'd like to invite in, we encourage you to do so. We have room for up to 100 participants who are actively involved in the challenge. So if you know of other people that you'd like to invite in, think about some of these categories, and maybe there's somebody that you're friends with or that you're business partners with that you'd like to invite in to hear some of these principles, because these principles will not only elevate you, but if you begin to elevate other people around you, people that are your peers or people that are your business partners, a rising tide raises all ships, and you'll see a lot of influence become part of your life because you are influencing the lives of other people. So if you have other people you're working with or clients who are also in an entrepreneurial role, invite them into this opportunity to join in, because any of the categories that we list in this slide set are people that we want to be able to support and who would benefit from some of these strategies. Primarily, anybody that has a desire to grow beyond their current circumstances, that has an entrepreneurial mindset, is a good qualified person that would maybe participate in our programming. So in terms of the different quadrants, there's some different people in different quadrants of the world of business. Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the New York Times bestseller, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, talked about these different types of quadrants. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I think it's important to understand what quadrant you're in and what quadrant you want to move to. Typically, it starts off in the left-hand quadrant where somebody is employed and being paid by somebody else, and they move into the self-employed quadrant as an independent contractor or maybe a small business owner. And if those people want to grow beyond themselves, they begin to hire other people, or they outsource and bring on other independent contractors to build their business and expand. The upper right-hand quadrant is for the business owners, the ones that have created a business or have developed a franchise that works because the business works, not because they work all the time. And the bottom right-hand quadrant is the investor. It's the person that has invested into a business and is earning an income that is coming from the profits of their business. And the profits, or maybe it could be the income that comes from the stocks, the paper assets that they have, the real estate that they have. So wherever you are in this little quadrant system, it's just good to know where you are and where you'd like to grow to, because building a business around you is dependent upon you working. If you're building a business around a business model working, or your money working for you, that could be a totally different business model. And that's important to think about when you're creating a business plan. So if you wouldn't mind just throwing out in the chat feature the different, or the quadrant that you'd like to be in, throw in one of the different phrases that are showing up on the screen. And while we're doing that, I'm going to throw it over to Mark. Mark is a friend, a business partner, and has been a client of mine as a business coach. And I'm going to ask him to talk a little bit more about his different roles as he's grown through a lifetime of employment and business ownership. Mark, tell us a little bit more about your track history and kind of where you grew from as a starting point and where you are today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Well, I'm excited to be a part of this group and looking forward to growing over these next 8 weeks. For me, Kiyosaki's information with this quadrant has resonated because my past 20 years has gone from one quadrant to another, and there's still some overlap. But for me, initially, my professional background as a physical therapist, I was an employee. I was an employee in a couple hospital settings, and that's the role that I knew, and that's the role that I expected to live out because of even my upbringing with the jobs or the roles that my parents had. I had a father-in-law, though, who was an entrepreneur who challenged me or nudged me to own my own practice, start my own business. And so that self-employed model started for me just under 20 years ago and grew at some level to becoming more of a business owner model. And the meshing or the development of that happened over time. But then, honestly, the perspective that you've provided me and Kiyosaki has provided me to understand how to continue to grow on the right side of that spectrum or the right side of the quadrant has brought a mesh of business ownership and investor. And I'm enjoying that, and I look forward to continue to grow in that.
So, Mark, you currently generate income from multiple quadrants. Is that right?
Correct. That's correct.
So you have investments, you've also got ownership in some businesses, and then you also still work on an independent contractor basis where you get paid fee for service, right?
That's correct.
But no employment, you're not currently employed by anybody.
That you are correct. And you caught me on a casual day. I wasn't expecting to be on the webcam here, so I'm in my casual business clothes today, but hey, it's all good, man. I'm still working, still living life. Lifestyle entrepreneur.
Lifestyle entrepreneur. Mark, tell everybody what your goal is in this 8-week challenge in terms of what you'd like to accomplish.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's even developing more clarity. So working a little bit more strategically in terms of what I'm looking to do in the second half of 2017. You know, I found for myself working on my business rather than just in the business gives me more clarity and more perspective and more of an opportunity also to look at what's that growth look like. And so that's what I'm looking forward to over these next 8 weeks, being able to identify going through the second half of 2017, what's going to be my primary goal from a business standpoint.
Great. Well, if everybody sees that link down there at the bottom of the screen, that is where the tool, the life and business planning tool is that we're going to be using as a resource here in the week 1 of the challenge. If you want to go to that link, you can. I'm going to go through just some quick questions that I believe that entrepreneurs should answer before they get too deep into the process of business planning. But here's a couple of quick questions, and these will all be available afterwards. I'll provide the PowerPoint so that you don't have to write them all down. And actually, a lot of the questions are inside of that life and business planning tool. So, Mark, if you wouldn't mind throwing that link inside the chat window, that would be helpful for everybody. But in terms of the different questions, you know, asking yourself, why am I in business? You know, having a good, strong why is going to help you to overcome the how. If you don't have a good, strong why, there's a good chance that the how will become insurmountable. 9 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 10 years. You have a little better success in the first 5 years, but the reality of it is that becoming an entrepreneur, even a lifestyle entrepreneur, is sometimes challenging. And you can look over your shoulder as, you know, the job offers, or you start seeing the person across the street that, you know, has the new car or is remodeling their house. And meanwhile, you are, you know, working nights, holidays, and weekends trying to help this business to get off the ground. You know, becoming a lifestyle entrepreneur to live the life that you want to live and the extraordinary life that you want to live requires time. And it's not going to happen overnight. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's actually a work hard, develop things, continue to refine it, and then live the life of your dreams. And that's only if you continue to stay persistent through it. If you give up in year 2, or you give up and throw your hands up in year 3, and you haven't seen it through, there's a good chance you're not going to reap the benefits and live the extraordinary life. So let us not try to, you know, make light of the work that's involved. You do have to do work, but you're going to work hard anyway. You're going to go to work at an employer. You're going to do something for somebody else, regardless of whether or not you start your own business. And so we want you to see the success that you desire, and we want to know why you want to do it. We also want to know, what kind of business do you want to build? You know, we just talked about the different quadrants. You know, are you clear on what kind of business that you want to build? How will you market your business? How will you make money? Some of you have just started a business, or maybe you're running a business that maybe isn't making any money. And, you know, many companies out there don't make a whole lot of money in the first few years of being in existence. But if you're not clear on how you're going to make money, then you could go, you know, belly up in a short amount of time. And most entrepreneurs have a runway. You know, they have a certain amount of distance before they have to get up and profitable, before the enthusiasm or just the cash flow runs out. And so the question for you is that how will you make that money? Do you want employees? You know, if you don't want employees, it's good to know that up front. How will you handle the rejection and failure? You know, some of us, you know, maybe just got into the idea of becoming an entrepreneur and we weren't really aware of how much failure you have to go through, trying, experimenting, testing. And, again, it's not about failure being an end result. It's a matter of failing your way to success. Most entrepreneurs have just failed more than other people that have fallen short of success. The ones that have been the most successful are not necessarily the ones that just got lucky. They actually just continued to stay persistent all the way through. Do you know enough about how to succeed, or do you have enough people to help you to succeed? One of the things I wish I would have done is had better mentors when I first got started. I had a little bit of knowledge and an exciting opportunity, and I had some cash in the bank, and I went after it. And I fell flat on my face a couple of times, and I learned some of those experiences of failure can sometimes be life-altering. It can cause you to want to quit. But if you are willing to put the time in and grow the business, and if you know up front that it's going to be a time investment, that you're not going to get an immediate return on every hour invested like you would if you go to work for a career in IBM or some major corporation with corporate perks and benefits. But if you're willing to invest in time into your business, and you know what that time investment is going to look like in your life, you can likely understand a little bit more about what's all involved and how to leverage that to create a profit. And then the last question, what's your exit strategy? Just working to become an entrepreneur with no idea of what's the end game can sometimes become a problem down the road 5 to 7 years, because if you build a business that's all dependent upon you, you may not necessarily have something of value when you're all ready to transition and to move away from that business. So you always want to be thinking about, what's this business going to be worth, or what's my exit plan? Will I be able to sell it to somebody, or will it be something where I can continue to, use the income from the business and have somebody else manage it? There needs to be some understanding of what your exit strategy is, or you may be left a little bit disappointed with the end game of how that business opportunity wraps up. So if anybody has any feedback, I'd love to get it on the comments. If you have an answer to one of those questions, a bold answer, throw it in the comments section, or put it in the live chat in the webinar. I'd love to hear some feedback on that particular situation. The next section I want to talk about is just the idea of a life plan. Inside the document that I shared with all of you, there's some sections that break down kind of what's your desired outcome. What is the vision for your future? You may not have all of the details dialed in, but if you were given a blank canvas to what your life looked like physically, mentally, financially, vocationally, what would that look like? That vision statement of your life can oftentimes become your why. Sometimes people translate that vision statement into a storyboard or a dream board, if you will. And that can be a very visual, stimulating strategy to help you to overcome some of the barriers that you face. The mission statement. Some of the people that I've had a chance to work with have come up with a really strong mission. It's not so much the visual picture of where they want to be and what they want to do and what they want to have, but it's more the mission. My mission is I want to help people to design and live extraordinary lives. And I believe that as entrepreneurs, especially lifestyle entrepreneurs, they can be extremely, extremely successful and significant in their life. Not only can they end up living an extraordinary life and having a lot of freedom and flexibility to go to their kids' ball games and different events and travel and do all those types of things, but they can also have an impact on society. Successful entrepreneurs bring value to the marketplace. And that value could be products and services that serve and support a community, or it could be, life-altering type of programs and products that can dramatically shift a person's life. So my mission is to help people to design and live extraordinary lives as a driver to get me up in the morning and keep me up late at night. I love the mission that I'm on, and seeing the vision of seeing my life 10, 20 years from now, and the impact that I'll have, and also the success that I've reaped. If I've helped enough people with my coaching services, I know the things in my vision statement will come through, and I know that my mission statement will begin to become even more and more reality in my life. How about lifestyle goals? Those will all go inside of your life plan. Now, we'll go into a little bit more detail in just a moment when I have a little dialogue, but this little map process has been a great way for me to clarify to different clients on what a life plan looks like. When you look at this map, if you wanted to go to Los Angeles, and let's just say that you were starting out on the East Coast up in New York someplace, having a good, clear, defined, desired outcome, we can call that a goal if you want, a long-term goal, is like the idea of just saying, I'm going to go to Los Angeles. Having a current understanding of what your current reality is it's understanding where I want to go to where I am today. Do you know this about where you're at today? Do you know currently where you are in your current success in your life and what that looks like physically, mentally, financially, vocationally? Are you being realistic about the amount of money you have in the bank, about your current health habits, about your current state and situation with your mind, your relationship habits? Being a perfect person is not my reality and it's not your reality. But knowing that your current reality has an impact on your future success, it doesn't mean it defines you. But if you don't have any money, then one of the things that you may need to do is to create a little bit more capital to be able to build your business. Some businesses don't require a lot of capital, but that may be your reality, is that you need a little extra money or you need a business partner that has money. Knowing your current reality is extremely important to understanding where you're at so that you can define where you're going. If you're all about the idea of dreaming and you're talking about all the things in life that you want to be, do, and have, that's great. But at the end of the day, if you don't understand the current reality, you won't understand how to get from where you're at to where you want to go. You'll constantly be talking about the dream. And what will happen is that, like most dreamers, is they never sit down and create a plan. You don't have a plan, chances are you're going to fall into somebody else's plan. And guess what they got planned for you? Not much. That's a quote from Jim Rohn. It's one of my life quotes, because I've seen so many people that have no plan, that try to head out to where they want to go with willpower and desire and belief in what's possible, because they listened to an audio program or they went to an event, but they don't have a solid plan. And a plan provides you with specific actions that are going to help you to get from where you want to go, or where you're at, to where you want to go. And if you have a good, strong why, as I said, you're going to know the reasons of why you want to go there, and you're going to be willing to go through the detours. The when question in your life plan is helping you to define a schedule. If you have certain goals in your life, but your schedule doesn't reflect those goals, it doesn't match up, then you're fooling yourself. And some of you, like me, have fooled ourselves into a point where we become very disappointed because we didn't achieve the goals that we really wanted, because we really didn't have our schedule matching our goals, or we didn't put a deadline on some of the goals that we put in place. How about you? Have you ever come into a situation where you have put out there a big dream and you had a real strong reason of why to do it? You even had a plan to do it, but maybe you didn't have a hard deadline, or you didn't share that deadline with other people, and that deadline never came, and you became a little frustrated with the process because you never really put out there a specific date. Or maybe in your mind you set a date, but you just kept pushing it back, and because you had no accountability, you didn't end up achieving it. And that's where I think that the coach and accountability partners can come in to help you to really make sure that you're on track to get from wherever you are to wherever you want to go. The document with the life planning has a whole lot more resources on that, and we'd be happy to answer questions inside the Facebook group if you have them. But knowing that you have a plan and knowing that reality is not anything like your plan is one of the facts of life that we have to all embrace. And maybe I could throw it over to Mark, and he can give me some feedback about some plans that he's made that maybe they look good on paper, but reality said not so much. Life hit, or challenging circumstances came about, or maybe just proving out that there is actually a moat, or there's actually a dip with a bunch of water in it that I wasn't really aware of in my plan. Mark, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple practical examples. Just looking back over the span of the 15 to 20 years in the physical therapy business, one clinic location that we brought on board was a great location. Things were matching up pretty well. We had a key person or a point person in play there. But 2 months into it, he decided it wasn't the deal for him. Logistically, it was way out of the short radius or the small radius of our other clinics. And we ended up closing the shop down, picking up the equipment and distributing the equipment with the other clinics. So it's like, and so we were, lesson learned there too. There were a couple things that we picked up from that. It was too far from our other locations. We were too dependent on one person. And so it definitely impacted what was happening there. A couple other situations too, where we've maybe worked on programming components with employer groups, with physician groups, and it didn't necessarily match up. And so it didn't follow through with the timeline or the timing of what we wanted to do. But again, lessons learned. And so part of the coachability or teachability with that is learn the lessons and keep moving forward.
Yeah, and knowing that you have a distance to go. I mean, you had a really strong sight on your desired outcome. And so a little hiccup like that, or a big hiccup like that, where you have to go through some money losses and kind of rekindle the fire, so to speak, to get that particular clinic relaunched. That's something that ends up becoming one of these little dips. And all of us entrepreneurs are going to hit those dips. It's more a matter of, do we have enough desire or a reason why to overcome those dips and challenges to keep getting where we want to get to? Mark is a great example. I'm sure many of you have great examples of things where you went out there to try to grab something and become successful at it, but it didn't necessarily pan out. And it may be because you had just a kind of a surprise in the market. I know for me personally, I had a whole industry kind of evaporate within a couple of year period of time. That was not part of my business plan. Business plans are not fail-safe, where they provide security over every challenge that you're up against. It's more about the idea of having a plan to help you to overcome those challenges as those challenges arise. A business plan has 5 parts to it, very similar to the life plan. If you have not completed a life plan, I would use the document that we provided as a planning tool and start off with the first couple of pages just to help you to identify the things in your personal, mental, physical, and financial or vocational life, and just keep things simple. If you have a more established business, then you can get into the business planning side. And there's a whole bunch of business planning options out there. If you're trying to raise capital or if you're trying to provide financials to a bank, this particular plan is not necessarily the best one for you. This is for more of a bootstrapping business where you're a lifestyle entrepreneur and you're going to be using your own capital, or maybe you're going to be borrowing money from a friend or a family member, and you're not going to have to get into extreme detail and provide financial documents to a bank or an investor. So this is my simple version. Have a vision statement, have a mission statement, have a financial plan, have an operations plan, and have a marketing plan. Those are the 5 components of a solid business plan as I've seen success happen. These don't have to be overly complicated. I'll go through them fairly quickly. But having these 5 components in a plan, it provides security. It provides some structure, and it guides you to the place where you ultimately want to go in your business. The vision statement, as I said earlier, with the life plan, it's more of an idea of a picture. The blank canvas. What does your business look like 5 to 10 years from now, or even 3 years? If 10 years is overwhelming, think about, what does the business look like? How many clients do you have? What's the revenue? How many offices do you have? How many staff members? How many consultants do you have? How many speaking gigs are you doing? Whatever your career is, I'd like to have you identify, what is that vision for the future? This is very similar to the life goals and the life vision, but it's concentrated on the business. If I was to take a picture of your business 3 to 5 years from now, what would that look like? How about the mission statement of that business? What is it that you aim to achieve that is not quantifiable? Here's Starbucks, to contribute positively to our communities and our environment. Now, that is not something that is a measurable goal. That's a mission that they are promoting, selling to their staff, selling to the community to say, this is who we are as an organization. Our vision statement is more of, we want to have 13,000 franchises and 60 different countries. I mean, those are the types of things where they really get into the vision and casting the vision to the staff that says, this is where the business is going, but this is why we're going there. That's the mission statement. And if you lack mission in your own business, even if it's just you, oftentimes you're going to struggle with trying to find investors or trying to find partners or referrals from major influencers because they're not going to hear the heart of your business. They're only going to see the financials or the product or service. And not to say that you have to have a really strong, passionate mission statement day one, but it'll be something that you'll be able to rally around if you'll spend the time to develop it. The next part is the financial plan. This is where, some people just kind of vacate the premises because talking about money can seem a little weird to some people. And if they, get too specific about financial goals, they start to feel this tension or this stress. But if you don't understand kind of where your finances are at and what it is that you'd like to accomplish over a reasonable period of time, you won't have any benchmarks to track progress and growth. And many entrepreneurs that I work with, they see a lot of work and they keep themselves busy and they even make an income, but they often don't have the success that they ultimately want, or they don't see the business growth because they don't have their eye on some financial goals or benchmarks. So if you don't have good financial goals, that would be a great place to spend some time, is just to think about what would be realistic over the next 6 to 12 months in terms of your business. What would be some progressives that you could track and mark to see if your business is growing? Because if your business is not growing and you don't see some sort of growth in any aspect of your business, it's likely going the other direction. And it's good to know that so that you can make the course corrections. Otherwise, you're going to fall short. Too much of this and the business goes under and you run out of runway and you don't get to that cruising altitude of a successful business. A lot of people spend a lot of money on marketing. They devote a lot of money to consumer direct advertising. They spend money on investing or on really high cost marketing campaigns that don't yield a big return on investment. Maybe you have been in a situation where you have spent money on something that didn't return your money back to you. I think we all have it as entrepreneurs. Marketing is part guessing and it's part research and it's part the idea of testing. But if you have a simple marketing plan that includes a little bit of a brand, if the brand is you, that's perfectly okay. Your unique selling proposition, or otherwise known as your unique value proposition, what is it that you bring to the marketplace that other people don't? If you're a professional coach, what is it that you do that other people don't? What can you do that's unique that other people can't do? And if you don't know what that is, it would be good to get some insight from a professional coach or marketing expert, because not being able to differentiate yourself in the marketplace means that you probably won't have a place in the marketplace. If you go into the marketplace and you have some sort of a brand, whether that brand is you, whether you're the walking billboard or the testimonial of your business, or the unique selling proposition is your story or your background or your product, then that's something that you need to get clear on. And then you need to identify what those marketing targets are. Who are the people that you're specifically focusing in on? We're going to go through this particular section next week in the marketing section, but as part of a business plan, it's good to know that you have a good plan for your success and that you know how you're going to generate incoming business, whether it's new leads, purchases, product sales, those types of things need to be a part of your overall marketing plan. We won't go into a lot of detail on the marketing targets, but here's a couple of marketing targets that I like to be able to put into a marketing plan. Your current clients, personal sphere, everybody knows about 100 to 200 people. And so if you have a product or service that can be introduced by friends, networking contacts, it's good to have them understand what your business is and what you do. Most of your friends and family members probably don't know what you do and how you do it and who could benefit from it. And that's like, if you go out there and spend money on marketing and don't introduce your friends and family members to what it is that you do, you're kind of missing an opportunity. And not that you have to sell all of your friends and family members on what it is that you do, but educate them on what you do. And if you do that, there's a good chance that they may refer you to somebody, or they would maybe use your services that you may not even know that they have a need until you have a chance to have a conversation with them. Referral partners and consumer direct advertising, we'll talk about that more in next week marketing section. The marketing calendar we'll talk about next week, but just identifying, here's the things that I'm going to do to run my business. And it may not be 15 items long, it may be 5. But if you do a few things and add to it each month, just think about if you did one thing this month, another thing next month, and you just compounded those on top of each other. You put some systems in place like a newsletter to your clients or a email message to prospective clients. Those types of things could end up building you a nice little marketing strategy that could generate some business even in the middle of the night if you were able to automate that using simple technology. The operations plan is the last part of it, and this is different based upon the different types of businesses that you run, but just knowing how the business is going to operate. How are you going to run your business? If you have staff members, or if you have vendors, or if you have other types of people that are out there that you're counting on to deliver your services, what does that look like? And if you are beginning to build that business plan that works because the business plan works, not because you're working all the time, having a good operation plan, just knowing from point A to point Z, what takes place inside your business, knowing what those steps are, knowing what needs to happen, who does what, that could give you great clarity, and it could begin to help you to create a little bit more of a life outside of the business rather than you knowing everything. A priority plan, this is more of a time management plan, but in your business, what are the key elements that need to get done? Do you have a plan for that? Having a life plan and a business plan is great, but if you don't have an implementation plan to help you to run that business and run that life, chances are life will just fall through the cracks and you'll be going from one urgency to the next. As we wrap up here today, we're going to talk about what to measure. There's a lot of things that you can measure in life and in business, but personal and professional growth, by having some goals in place, is going to help you to see those areas that maybe need a little bit of assistance, maybe some mentoring, maybe some accountability. Knowing exactly what your profits and losses are each month, that's a great strategy just to check the pulse of your business, because if it's constantly in the red, there's going to be trouble up ahead. And I rhymed, Mark. I didn't even realize it. I have to write that one down, sing a song to it next time. But having good forms of measurement and accountability inside of your business is only going to help you to thrive in the future. So that was the down and dirty, quick session on life and business planning. If anybody has any questions, I'd love to have you throw them in the chat message. I'll address a couple of those. I'll throw up. Next week, we're going to be talking about marketing your business. We just threw out a whole bunch of planning ideas. I hope that that's not overwhelming to you. I know it's a lot of information, but I want you to know that this can be rewatched. And if you rewatch it a couple of times, if you take a couple of notes, if you use the free planning tool, I'm confident that you'll start to see some things that maybe you weren't doing before that can begin to get implemented. And we can start to really start to move towards the results that you desire. Mark, any takeaways from the session today?
A lot of solid content. I thought you moved at a good pace. I mean, obviously, like you said, there's going to be stuff that we can go back and look at here. And I like the framework of what's happening over these next 8 weeks. I like the staging and the pace of what's going to be happening. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great. A couple of questions. Catherine asked a question about a simple template for business planning for a lifestyle business. The document that I provided would be a good template. There's also another template inside of the private Facebook group for all of our challenge participants. Make sure you check out the files section of that private Facebook group. If you've not been added, please be sure that you comment and let us know what your email address is, because everybody should have been added to that private Facebook group. And if not, we'll make sure that they're done immediately following. Other questions? Let's see. Gil, thanks for the feedback. Did you have one, Mark?
I was going to say, if you saw Gil's comment there and his question, if you wanted to respond to that.
Yeah. Trying to do too much. I think that the question or the answer lies inside the beholder of the question, because, only Gil, more you know what you can handle. And if you're feeling at a point right now where you're stretching yourself too far and you're feeling that stretching, you know, a good amount of tension and, you know, something that stretches you to the point where it's a healthy amount of growth. That's one thing. If you're feeling to the point where you're completely stressed out because you have so much on your plate, you might have to just do a clean sweep. And a clean sweep is just, you know, beginning to write down all the things that you want to do on one side of the sheet of paper and all the things that you don't want to do, and begin to start thinking about what can you delete. You know, what can you delegate to a third party or to a staff member or maybe an assistant? And then what are some of the things that may just need to be delayed? You know, entrepreneurs are constantly thinking about new business opportunities. I'm guilty of it just as much as anybody. But sometimes we have to take a really good business opportunity and set it off to the side so that we can really pursue those great opportunities. And sometimes we just need to be a little bit overwhelmed to find out which one has the legs to run. Because, you know, most business entrepreneurs didn't necessarily have one idea that they were working on that took off. They usually had a couple of different ideas. And then they found that there was one that, you know, started to become more valuable in the marketplace. And that's the one that became profitable and they ran with. Well, hey, Mark, thanks for joining up with us. I appreciate everybody joining in. I hope that this was valuable to you. If it was, share it. Share the copy of the recording when you see it, or let other people know about the challenge. Next week, we'll be talking a little bit more about the wonderful world of marketing and helping you to develop some new clients, and have Jim jump in and talk a little bit more about his client for life client acquisition system and how to start that relationship based sales process. So thanks, everybody. We wish you the very best, and have a great afternoon.